Welcome to online classes. Today we will continue our lesson 7, memory units and generations. In our last class we studied about what is memory, its units and types. Internal memory, external memory, what is RAM. In this class we'll study about what is ROM. Like internal or cache memory, ROM is also read-only memory. Source ROM here. ROM stands for read-only memory. This is the memory from which we can only read but cannot write. Always remember, ROM is read-only memory. This type of memory is non-volatile. That means the information is stored permanently. In our previous class we have studied the memory is volatile. Whenever you switch off the power, the work or the data is lost. But in ROM, read-only memory, data is permanent and you cannot write the data on it. So what is the basic purpose if you cannot write the memory? ROM stores such instructions that are required at start of the computer. Whenever you buy a new machine, a new computer, this memory stores the basic information. What software, what operating software you can install, what other applications you can install on the hardware. This operation is referred to as bootstrap. ROM chips are not only used in computers but also in electronic items like washing machine, microwave oven, etc. So that is why it is also called firmware. Means it is in the system. This is a ROM chip. Now, what are the various types of ROM? MROM, PROM, EPROM, EEPROM. Now, MROM stands for masked ROM. What do you mean by masked? Mask is something that you can cover over anything. Earlier ROMs were hardwired devices that contained a pre-programmed set of data or instructions. These kind of ROMs are known as masked ROMs, which are inexpensive. And PROM, programmable read-only memory, means you can program the ROM. Programmable read-only memory that can be modified only once. There is only one chance, only one time that you can program it, you can write data on it. We can buy a blank PROM and enter the desired contents using PROM program. In this situation, when you buy a new ROM or PROM, you have to buy it empty. And you can write your desired codes or desired programming into that chip. Only for once though. And it is not erasable. EPROM stands for erasable and programmable read-only memory. Now as the technology is improving, EPROM can be erased by exposing it to ultraviolet light. That means UV light. When you expose it, when you put UV light on it, it can be erased for duration of up to 40 minutes. During programming, an electrical charge is used. This charge can be retained for more than 10 years. Look at the time duration. For 10 years you cannot change it. But for erasing the charge, ultraviolet light can be passed or exposed to it. EEPROM, it stands for electronically erasable and programmable read-only memory. EEPROM is programmed and erased electrically. In previous EEPROM we use UV light, but in this we use electricity. It can be erased and reprogrammed about 10,000 times. And this is the most programmable ROM. Both erasing and programming takes about 4 to 10 milliseconds. Just that much little amount of time. In EEPROM, any location can be selectively erased and programmed. If you want, or for your choice, you can erase any part of the ROM. You don't have to erase all of it. It can be erased 1 byte at a time, a smallest unit, rather than erasing the entire chip. Now what is a millisecond? It's 1 by 1000 of a second. Advantages. What are the advantages of ROM now? It's non-volatile in nature. It cannot be erased. These cannot be accidentally changed. It's cheaper than RAM. It's more reliable than RAM. And these are static and do not require refreshing. Now we are moving to external memory. The type of memory is known as secondary or auxiliary memory, or non-volatile. Also non-volatile. It is slower than main memory. What are its examples? Hard drive, pen drives that you use in your computer or in your mobile phone. These are used for storing data and information permanently. That you can update your information, but it has permanent viability. CPU does not access these memories directly. They are accessed via input or output routines. The CPU processing is not direct with the secondary memory. It goes through primary and external input and output devices. Contents of secondary memories are first transferred to main memory and CPU then access it. For example, hard drive, CD-ROMs, DVDs, etc. What are its characteristics? These are magnetic and optical memories. They can be used for backup or reusable memories. They are non-volatile. That means data is permanently stored if the power is switched off. Reliable. You can rely on the data if it's permanently stored, right? You can check, change anytime. Convenience. It's good for upgrade of computer software or any computer information. Capacity. It can be used multiple times and multiple disks. You can increase its capacity. Cost. It's much lesser expensive. Computer can start without secondary memory. It is much slower than primary memory though. Now, this figure states type of memories. Secondary storage devices, there are two types, sequential and direct access. In sequential, there is only one type, magnetic tape, but in direct access devices, there are various types, magnetic disk, optical disk and memory storage devices. We'll read about sequential types first. Magnetic tapes. Second, direct access, magnetic disks, floppy, hard drive, and then optical disks such as CDs and DVDs, and then memory storage devices like pen drives or flash drives or memory cards. Sequential access devices. Now what do you mean or what do you understand by sequence? The power or the information that can be accessed step by step, that is in a sequence. In these type of storage devices, data can only be retrieved in sequential order in which it is stored. The basic example of the sequential drives are audio cassettes or video cassettes that we used to play for a movie in our home. They are suitable for sequential processing application where most of the data records need to be processed and done after one another. They are best for first generation and second generation computers where information was processed step by step. Data storage capacity is the amount of data that can be stored on a given length of tape. So, in sequential devices, what is the storage capacity of any tape? It is the data recorded density, how much data we can store into length of the tape. Alright, direct access devices. Now in these kind of devices, you can access any amount of data, any amount of information at any given time. You don't have to go in a sequence, or you don't have to visualize or see or listen to anything or process the same information. You just click on the information and the information will come to you right away. In these storage devices, any storage location may be selected and accessed randomly. They permits access to individual information in a more direct or immediate manner. These are suitable for direct processing applications such as online tickets, booking system. There are various types. Physical structure. First, tracks. The surface of a disk is divided into a number of invisible concentric circles. These tracks are numbered on securely from outermost to innermost, starting from 0. Now, the outermost layer is 0. The innermost is 200. Total 200 tracks. The number of tracks on a disk may vary according to the capacity of the disk. Then come sectors. You have studies tracks, and these tracks are again divided into a sector. This cross section is a sector. Each track of a disk is subdivided into small portions known as sectors. There are 8 or more sectors per track. A sector typically contains 512 bytes. Now the storage capacity of these kind of devices are number of recording surfaces, how many surfaces we can store data on, into number of tracks per surface, and how many tracks are there on a surface, and multiply it by number of sectors per track, and fourth, number of bytes per sector. So basically it comes to how many surfaces you have, and you can divide into sectors and bytes on it. Generation of computers. This is the most important part. What were the generations? In computer terminology, generation is a change in technology of computer. Earlier, when systems came in, generation was only distinguished between varying hardware technologies. As the technology improved, various hardware came in. Hardware was developed. Then we used to say we have new generation. But today, generation includes both hardware and software, which together make up an entire computer system. There are totally 5 computer generations known till date. These are first generation from 1942 to 1955, The time period of first generation was 1942 to 1955. The first generation computers used vacuum tubes. This is a vacuum tube. The type of data that the type of device that we use in our homes, bulbs, electric bulbs that we use are a replica of vacuum tubes. These tubes were like electric bulbs which produce a lot of heat. Now what do you have when you light up 100-watt bulb in your room? After some time it starts to heat up and it produces heat in the room. The same way, when you have lot of CPUs made by vacuum bulbs, it was very different to handle. They were very expensive and could be afforded by very large organizations. In this generation, mainly batch processing operating systems were used. Punch cards, paper tapes, magnetic tapes were used as input and output devices. Machine codes and electric wired board language used to operate the machines. What are the main features? Vacuum tubes are as basic component, electromagnetic relay memory, punched cards as secondary storage were used. The language was only machine and assembly language, and stored program concept for operating the machines are used. They were very bulky in size, they were very big. Just imagine a whole room full of computer. It used to be very unreliable. Because of heat, the bulbs used to fuse much frequently. They cannot be commercially used because of its size, so they were very costly. The names of first generation computers: ENIC, EDVAC, EDSAC, UNIVAC 1, IBM 701. Second generation from 1955 to 1964. This generation used a transistor. Now, in earlier generation it was vacuum tube. Now we have transistors. This is a transistor. They were cheaper, consumed less power, more compact in size, more reliable and faster than first generation machines made of vacuum tube. In this generation, magnetic core were used as primary memory and magnetic tapes and magnetic disks as secondary storage devices. Programming languages like Fortran, COBOL were used. The processing was bash and multi-purpose programming operating systems. The main features were transistors as basic component. Always remember, second generation was of transistors. Batch operating systems. High-level programming languages were used. They were faster, smaller, more reliable and easier to program than previous generation. These were commercially produced. Commercial production of second generation was still bit difficult, but they were used. They were costly. They were smaller in size and generate less heat. They consume less electricity. The names were IBM 7030, UNIVAC, LARC. Third generation from 1964 to 1975. Look at the time frame. The technology is advancing way much than previous generations. The third generation of computer use integrated circuits or ICs in the place of transistors. A single IC has many transistors resistors and capacitors along with associated circuitry. The IC was invented by Jack Kilby. Who invented IC? Jack Kilby. This development made computers smaller in size, reliable and efficient. In this generation, remote processing, time sharing, real-time programming operating systems were used. High-level languages such as Fortran 2 to Fortran 4, COBOL, Pascal, PL1, BASIC, ALGOL 68, etc. were used. Now what is remote processing? Remote processing is a type when you access information remotely from somewhere else through internet or through a network. Time sharing. You can share your time or share your data or your file on a real-time basis. Second, real-time. Interactive. For example, when you have a video chat with anyone across the globe or any place geographically different from you, that is real-time. Multi-programming. You can choose multiple programming languages on the same system. Now this generation was the first with ICs with SSI and MSI technology. Larger magnetic core memories were used. Larger capacities with magnetic disks and tapes were used. Time sharing. They were commercially easier to use. That is why they were used scientifically and on more commercial basis applications. Few of the examples of third generation computers are IBM 360, 370, PDP-8, PDP-11 or CDC 6600. Fourth generation from 1975 to 1989. Now look at the chip. The period of fourth generation computer used very large scale integrated circuits, also known as VLSI. VLSI circuits having about 5,000 transistors. These are 5,000 transistors and other circuit elements and their associated circuits on a single chip. That is why they made a difference. They made possible for real small computers or compact computers or personal computers. It was a revolution. In this generation, time sharing, real-time networks, distributed operating systems and all higher level languages like C and C++, DBase, etc. were used. Its features: ICs with VLSI technology and microprocessors were used. Semiconductor memories, large capacity hard drives and inbuilt secondary storage were used. Magnetic tapes and floppy disks as portable storage devices. Now, this is the first time where magnetic tapes and floppy disks were used as portable storage device. Portable means you can carry your information anywhere. You just copy the file or data onto a floppy disk or a tape and you can carry it anywhere. Operating systems for PCs with GUI and multiple windows on a single terminal screen. Multi-processing operating systems such as Unix operating system and C programming languages were used. PC, personal computers, network-based and supercomputing, small, affordable and reliable due to its very small integrated circuits. Name of fourth generation computers: IBM PCs and its clones, Apple II, Cray 1, Cray 2, Cray X2, MP. Fifth generation. Now the period of 1989 till date, till now, at present, we are using 5th generation. The VLSI technology became ultra large scale integration technology. Look at the chip size, just this big. Microprocessor chips having 10 million electronic components. This generation is based on parallel processing hardware and AI, artificial intelligence software. AI is an upcoming branch in computer science. AI means artificial intelligence is an upcoming branch of computer or already a branch of computer science which interprets means and methods of making computers think like human beings, like us. The way we think. The programming is designed to make machines think. This gave way for robots, game playing, decision making for machines, natural language understanding. You say a command and it will obey. All higher languages, higher level languages were used. Features: ULSI technology ICs, optical discs, CDs were used, notebooks and PCs were more powerful, internet and cluster computing is used, microkernel based multi-threading, they were portable, high uptime due to hot pluggable components. What do you mean by hot pluggable? It can be charged anywhere. Easier to produce commercially, rapid software development. Name of some of the 5th generation computers: IBM notebooks, Pentium PCs, Sun workstations, IBM SP2, PRAM 10,000. Now what are the basic points to remember in this chapter? Memory is the storage device. Memory is a storage space in computer where data to be processed and instructions required for processing are stored. Memory capacity of a computer is the amount of data that can be stored in the storage unit. Cache memory is very high speed semiconductor memory. Now, very high speed memory is cache memory, which can speed up the CPU. Primary memory holds only those data instructions on which computer is currently working. RAM is random access memory. ROM is read-only memory. The surface of the disk is divided into a number of invisible concentric circles called tracks. Each track of a disk is subdivided into small portions known as sectors. In computer terminology, generations is a change in hardware as well as software technology of a computer. Always remember, external memory is also known as secondary or auxiliary memory or non-volatile. With these, your memory chapter is complete. This is the most important chapter in understanding computers and its generations. Thank you.